Welcome in, everybody. It's Friday's episode of the morning meeting. Dan's first Friday with us. We think the week's gone pretty well. We're glad you've made time to be part of season two, episode five. Whether you're watching on YouTube or here on the Two-Way Network, I'm doing the program from a jerry-built set of technology. So this will be a fun one. Dan and Sean and I will tell you about what's happening today, offer you some analysis, and then, of course, as always, take your questions. If you're game to join in, and we always like new people joining in, please raise your electronic hand. If you're here on the Two-Way platform, we'll call on as many of you as we can. When we get to that portion of the program, as always, in your questions, and as you participate in the chat, the ever popular chat on YouTube or here on Two-Way, please remember, we're not really that into negative personal attacks. In fact, we abhor them. Please, peace, love, and understanding. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Friday. Very strange day. All week, of course, we've been tracking the port strike, the Middle East, and the aftermath of the hurricane. Strike is temporarily halted until January. So check that off the box. I don't know that Kamala Harris is getting any credit for settling the strike. I think the administration deserves credit, but she doesn't seem to be championing that. But it's a disaster averted in terms of both symbolism and the economy. Jobs numbers out this morning, they beat expectations. So that's also good news on the economic front. Israel, if you didn't watch President Biden talking to the press in a gaggle yesterday, I recommend it to you. He said all sorts of things that had the markets going a little bit bonkers and had some people wondering yet again whether he should be doing gaggles at this point in his life. The big thing is the aftermath and talking to people who both on the ground in the region and people who've covered and dealt with and worked in government in these disasters before. Not saying anything negative about anybody, just the facts. It's at about this phase where people are the adrenaline has died down, the kind of terror and also optimism kind of sets aside, and the realization sets in that this is a long haul and that government's not going to be able to do everything for everybody. And so there's a real peril for the administration and for the vice president politically as people in the region start to wonder what's happening with their lives and what role the government will play. And part of that kicks in because of some of the human factor, but also part of it kicks in as they start to deal with their insurance companies. The insurance companies are not telling them everything they want to hear, and they begin to look for the government for relief there. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The vice president, not in the region today, but rather overnighted in Michigan. She's got a 150 Eastern Time campaign event in Detroit, a 555 event in Flint. Continues to be a lot of holes in her schedule. Not sure what she's doing. My guess is private meetings with people she's courting or looking to energize, because she slept in Detroit, but her first event is until 1:50. Then she gets to Flint at 4, but her event's not till 6. Interesting. Then back to D.C. Donald Trump, 2 events today. The first is not really being couched as a campaign event, although that's what it is. 3:45, he's visiting Evans, Georgia, and having a press event with Governor Kemp, who he has rarely been with. The two of them seem to have reconciled, and I suspect the Trump folks expect Governor Kemp to complain about the administration, which will be interesting, the federal administration. So that's in Evans, Georgia at 3:45, and then the former president, has a town hall meeting. I don't know who's moderating that. Sean, do you know who's moderating that?
No, but I can ask.
All right, see if you can find out in real time. Fayetteville, North Carolina at 7 Eastern Time. I bet someone famous is moderating. Tim Walz, no public events, so we know of. J.D. Vance, also in Georgia, is doing remarks at 1 Eastern Time in Lindale, Georgia. Doug Emhoff is doing an event in Pittsburgh, and President Biden does not have a public schedule. White House briefing at 1:30. All right. Let's start with, and again, if you'd like to get in the conversation, please raise your hand. Let's start with the hurricane aftermath. Sean, what do you think of my premise based on my reporting that we're in day whatever we're in, and that we're bound to see both from Governor Kemp and from citizens, particularly in Western North Carolina, some fraying of the silence in terms of not being critical of the administration, and that Harris has to worry a lot about that?
Yeah, I will tell you, and a couple things. I called a lot of folks last night that I know in North Carolina. One, a big big Dem, and just said, just tell me, how do you think the response is going? I called people who on both sides of the spectrum just to get a sense of it. I watched, just dug in based on our conversation yesterday. And I will tell you, on social media, a lot of criticism in the rural areas. And I want to preface this by just saying, because before I get to the comments, there's a reality of what's real and what's the government's fault and what's not. We are having a political conversation about who gets blamed, right or wrong. I want to preface this because people are going to say, oh, that's not fair. It's not a question of fair. As I've said before, it's perception. I will tell you that I think that there is a bubbling up of from all spectrums, right? So I've seen it on the right and the left now of people saying, I'm not getting the help that I need. I haven't seen FEMA. I'm watching people drive by. I think that this is going to be a bigger problem. I didn't fully appreciate the level of devastation that people were describing to me is unfathomable. We've seen the pictures, but to hear people that I know that live in Western North Carolina to describe it to me brought tears to my eyes. And I'm just telling you, again, right or wrong, expectations in check or not, I think that this is going to be a big problem. I will also tell you, just as a shameless plug, I've got Chairman Whatley, RNC Chairman Whatley, on my show today. He's from North Carolina, and I really want to get to him about what does that mean politically? As crass as it is, I want to know, Asheville's the blue dot there, but how much is this going to affect their efforts? And I think that, anyway, I'm just saying, oh, by the way, Anna Luna is moderating the town hall.
Interesting. Sean, that's not a shameless plug. It's just a solid plug. Tell folks what time that is.
6 o'clock tonight on my YouTube channel. That it is quasi shameless.
Yeah. All right. Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk at some length about what you think about not just Western North Carolina, but the whole region, particularly politically, Georgia and North Carolina. And while you talk, I'm going to try to fix my technological situation. So I'm going to go off camera. Dan, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I won't belabor North Carolina. She is getting near the danger zone. I said it on Monday, 72, 96 hours was key to watch. I know some Democrats have talked, this isn't fair. Look at Puerto Rico. The reality is Puerto Rico is not and was not a swing state at the time. And I think, going down to Georgia, to be, crass politically about this, Brian Kemp is no fool. He is ambitious. I think thinking about his future, it is hard to see a path if you are at war, both nationally and in the South, with Donald Trump. And I think, this is a little bit of an opportunity to get on the right side with Trump. And that creates peril for Harris and Biden, because if local officials start saying we are not getting what we need, and I think Kemp yesterday said that the disaster zone declared was not big enough, that the federal government should be declaring other parts of Georgia a state or national emergency, that becomes a real problem. Right now in North Carolina, you have Cooper. If you're the Harris campaign, you need the 2 state senators in Georgia saying kind things about you. You need, whoever on the ground, but it is a danger zone for her, no doubt about it. Because at the end of the day, it's another example of chaos that they just don't need right now for voters to be seeing on TV. Daily.
Yeah, Dan, I would just add, again, I think you're right on the political standpoint, having the top cover of Governor Cooper and the state senator. But when you start seeing these social media videos, and again, this is right or wrong, people are saying, the timing of so many things right now is not good for them. You had them give away money to Ukraine. You've had this issue of illegal immigration. And there's a lot of people that I see on social media saying, how come everybody else got their money? We're not getting the help, right? You helped people in Ukraine. You're helping people coming over the border. What about us as citizens? And again,
totally. I mean, look, I have a good friend who is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat about an hour east of Asheville, who put on social media that he got a note from the electric company to not expect power back for 4 to 5 weeks. And that's not even in the hardest hit areas, right? And he's not in a particularly rural area. So to your point, Sean, absolutely.
Hey, real quick, by the way, to add on to my real-time reporting, former VA Secretary Wilkie will be giving opening remarks at that Trump event, and then Anna Paulina Luna will be moderating. So real-time updates as we go. But just I want to just
John, let me ask you a question. And this may seem like a crazy question to ask, but could Trump overplay this at all? In other words, can he and Kemp come out? And so what constitutes an overplay with him and Kemp? Like,
Well,
should he come out more in sadness than in anger and say these people deserve better? Like, what's the danger for him?
I will say, just to give people a sense that this person that I know in that area said Asheville and Boone that I spent my entire life going to are now gone. My son said that Chimney Rock no longer actually even exists. It was wiped to the mountain. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is a level of devastation that I can't fathom what that would mean. But I think that if Trump overplays this, right, if people are frustrated and they're expressing it, that's the strongest indictment that you could have. Him getting involved and trying to point fingers and stuff. It's sort of like when someone's in a hole, let them keep digging. If Trump inserts himself too much, I think he can overplay this hand very quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, about a potential. Let me ask you about
I think if Kemp says they ought to declare 5 more counties a disaster zone, and I'm frustrated, and then Trump gets on and says, and he won't even take our phone calls. He won't even then it just looks like you're unnecessarily wrong, right?
I mean, I'll predict then that Trump oversteps where you guys have put the line. He won't be able to help himself. Let me ask you, Dan, about that dark arts thing. It seems like if some very sympathetic family or community went on camera and said, how dare you, Kamala Harris? You're not visiting. Your government horrible. That would be devastating politically. I'm not advocating this, just to state the obvious, but couldn't the Trump campaign gin that up pretty easily, or is that too dangerous?
No, in fact, you're seeing it on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go and put someone face to camera. It's out there on social media, just following and seeing who's re-amplifying what, and what's organic.
But what if some again? I don't know much about the media, but it seems like this would get more coverage than some tweets. If some Republican mayor had some families in and they called a press conference, they invited one of the 10,000 or 10 of the 10,000 journalists on the ground, and they had a press conference and said, "How dare you, Kamala Harris?" That could lead even liberal networks. Am I wrong that that's feasible and would be dangerous?
Oh, absolutely.
Again, I'm not advocating it. It just seems like something that could happen.
Mark, all politics is local. And so if it is in someone's interest, and I would even say a local Democratic mayor in a southern state, if things are really bad and their constituents are really angry, of course, absolutely. And that is the danger zone for her. That is
kind of happening. I mean, look, I mean, at least on the right, it's happening, right? You're starting to see a lot of these things where people are saying, I'm a supporter of Kamala Harris, but she I mean, it's going to get worse.
Think about 2012. What was the best defense for Barack Obama? Chris Christie hugging him on the tarmac. They kept replaying, right? Like, it's politics what Romney is saying. The reverse could easily.
I want to show some ads, but let's do rapid round here. And then we'll look at some ads, a lot of new ads today. I'll name a development, and you say on a scale of 0 to 10, how much it affects not just the state, but who will win the White House. How much it affects women? 0, no impact. 10, start picking the cabinet. All right. Trump's reconciliation with Governor Kemp. Sean.
6.
Dan.
8.
Okay. Bruce Springsteen endorsing Harris. Sean.
-1.
Dan.
1. Nothing.
1. Okay. Elon Musk going to the Butler event tomorrow. Sean.
3.
Dan.
2.
Okay. Barack Obama announcing that starting next Thursday, he's going to be doing a lot of barnstorming campaigning for various Democratic candidates, including Kamala Harris. Sean.
6.
6. Dan.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say 5. He can't put lipstick on the economic pig for her, but he can turn out voters.
Yeah, black men.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask each of you. This was Dan's idea. Talk about one down ballot race. Dan, you'll go first. One down ballot race that you're looking at in terms of both as a change in people's perceptions, or a change that should occur, and also maybe as an indication of what's going on at the presidential level. Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to say Wisconsin. As Buffalo Springfield said, something's happening and it's not exactly clear.
The Senate race.
But on both levels, it is starting to close in Wisconsin. And I said this on one of the Zooms in the afternoon last week. Democrats that I saw who were here with Kamala Harris for the fundraiser a few weekends ago proactively said they are getting nervous about that state again.
All right, I'm going a little right on this one.
Yeah.
Geographically speaking, Michigan, I think Mike Rogers wins that Senate race. I think Michigan goes. Mark shaking his head because he knew where I was going on this. But I'm with Dan. It was a close call between Wisconsin and Michigan, but I think Mike Rogers pulls out the Senate race there.
I'm telling you right now, it's possible, based on what we're seeing, possible that Trump is stronger in the Rust Belt states than Harris is in the Sun Belt states. And that's one way to look at why, if you want to say Trump is the favorite, if you want to say that, that's one way to look at it. His strength in Pennsylvania has been agreed to for a while. There's growing signs of indication of Republican strength and Trump strength in the other two, in Michigan and Wisconsin, as you guys just highlighted. All right. Want to look at some ads. There's a new Harris 60-second ad. And one advantage, if you've got way more money, you can do things like afford 60-second spots. This is a new Harris spot targeted at the Latino community. Let's play 102, please. We got 102. All right, well, I could describe it pretty vividly because I watched it a couple.
She fought for a car.
Had a little technological glitch. Rolling just one moment.
Thank you. Six, 60-second spot. It takes longer to load.
Why do we wake up before the sun and go to bed long after it's gone down?
Why do we fight? And who do we fight for? For the single mother doing it all on her own.
For the student with the determination to change things. For the small business owner with the dream of a better life for his family.
And for the bravest of us who stand up to anyone that puts our way of life in danger.
We do it because that's what Americans do.
And that is who Kamala Harris fights for.
She fought for car wash workers cheated out of their pay.
She fought corrupt banks that kicked families out of their homes.
We're ready to fight for it!
She fought giant drug companies to lower the cost of insulin.
And she won.
So we know she will take on the corrupt companies that overcharge our families for food and rent.
And why does she fight? Because she knows.
When we fight, we win!
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
I'll go first. I normally wait. Well produced, to me, a total waste of money. I don't see that ad persuading anybody of anything. Sean.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that I think, total side note takeaway, is I hear a lot of folks on the left say, you can't expect her to do a lot as VP. You know, she's not in charge. And then every ad talks about what she did as VP and what she wants to take credit for. You can't have it both ways. You can't say she lowered prescription drugs, she did all this stuff as VP. And then when we on the right say, but she didn't do the border because she's not in charge, you pick one thing. Either she gets nothing done, yes, or she's in charge. So I'm with you. I think well produced, but I'm really not sure that moves the needle.
Details. I mean, I actually think it's not a bad ad. I mean, if you're struggling to make the affirmative case going forward, try to highlight what you've done in the past. And
half the ad is just B-roll of nice looking Hispanic Americans doing stuff. I mean, I don't know. 60 seconds is like an eternity in political messaging. And I just feel like so much
stuff she's talking about. I mean, you know, if you're in a vacuum, it's
all right.
I must have missed the issue with car wash workers though, because I didn't.
Issue. The big issue. It plays big. All right. We're going to look at two Trump ads because they're both 30, so equal time. So let's roll back to back, please. 104 and 105.
He murdered. He murdered a father of 3, sentenced to life in prison. Kamala Harris pushed to use tax dollars to pay for his sex change.
I made sure that they changed the policy so that every transgender inmate would have access.
It sounds insane because it is insane. Kamala was the first to help pay for a prisoner's sex change.
The power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing for the movement, frankly, and the agenda.
Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Kamala Harris pushed the far-left Green New Deal. That means huge new tax. Kamala Harris pushed the far-left Green New Deal. That means huge new taxes, increased utility bills, and banning gas cars.
That's why I am committed to passing a Green New Deal and finally putting an end to fracking once and for all.
Kamala just don't give a frack.
Kamala's fracking ban would kill jobs and raise gas prices. Kamala doesn't give a frack about you. Only President Trump will bring back Trump's strong economy.
I'm to those 2 negative ads.
It was
using
almost
our
as
own
good as
words.
Pete Alonso's home run last night. I mean, those are great ads. I mean, they just are. They're her own words. They're terrific. And I would just say too that I thought that Harris ad before reminds me of a Modilla beer ad on some level. So.
Yes, I wish we had time to illustrate that, but you're right. Sean, 2 negative spots with her own words. What do you think?
Excellent ads. I think the second one on fracking will play huge in Pennsylvania. The first one I think really will resonate with a lot of women who are worried about. I mean, it hits both things: the transgender issue, but also just the criminal issue. I think it was very, very well produced. It's a strong message. It's compelling. I give it an A.
Yeah. One thing that I think is good, besides that they're well produced, is the stories are clear. They're 30-second stories. The characters are clear. What they're saying about Kamala Harris is clear. The kind of gee whiz factor on both of them is clear. They're quite good. We all agree. All right, let's go to your questions. As always, as you come in, please tell us where you are, who you're supporting, what's on your mind. Jenny on the show. Jenny.
Oh, geez. Hi. So
hi.
This is my first time zooming in, and it's thanks to Dan. I'm even here because I saw his run-in with Alex yesterday and decided he told me to zoom in, so here I am.
Oh yeah, all right.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, I live in Buffalo, New York. I have a different perspective living in New York State, which is a sanctuary state. To me, the most important issues are really 3 things. It's immigration, the economy, and actually, I think something that has never been touched on, which is the impact of the judiciary if Harris were to become the president.
Let me just stop you. Are you supporting Donald Trump? Sounds like
I am a
what
Trump
you're saying.
supporter, yes.
And did you vote for him in 16 and or 20?
Both times, yes.
Both times. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
We have several hotels in our area here who have been housing illegals for almost a year. They have had sexual assaults there, so they had to move them to a less neighborhood area. We're seeing the impact of these things every day. The schools are having a hard time affording to, teach these students. It's just a huge impact. Border Patrol is not allowed to come within 100 or 200 feet of these hotels because of the sanctuary status. These are the things that
Jenny, I'm sorry. Do you have kids in public school?
My boys are both in college. Okay. So no, but we hear about it every day because these school systems are fighting with the state to get reimbursed for all the money that they've had to put out. So I don't understand why abortion, honestly, is the topic of the day. I really don't. I mean, I guess by all accounts, a suburban woman, and I guess I just don't subscribe to the suburban woman plight. I don't know how else to put it. But I think what's never been talked about is the impact of the judiciary. I have a very unique position on that for reasons that I really can't get into, but when you're talking about lifetime appointments of judges, we have judges who sit in the judiciary that have been judges since the Reagan era. They're going to outlive every administration, most of the senators, most of the House of Representatives. These people are appointed to lifetime positions and have huge impacts on our everyday lives. And we're not talking about 9 Supreme Court justices. We're talking about district court judges, circuit court judges. I mean, it's like a funnel, but it goes upwards. Yeah. So, 99% of the cases don't get to the Supreme Court. most of the cases stay within the district judges. If they funnel up and get decided by the circuits, if she were to become president, we have 4 more years of extremely liberal agenda-based judges being put in place. And I see that here where I am, because in a state like New York, we have Second Amendment issues, we have First Amendment issues. And even if you try to do the right thing as a judge, as you funnel up, the circuit will be very liberal and it'll get overturned. And then you have to hope that it goes to the Supreme Court. I mean, I don't see anybody talking about this. And so that's one of the issues that I find really important, because we're not talking about 4 years. And I think this is what they did with Biden. They're like, listen, everybody's tired of Trump. Just vote for Biden. This is a reset 4 years. It's the same thing that they're doing with Harris. Don't believe who she is. Country over party. We just need to, kumbaya, come together. And that is not what happened. That is not what happened. We transitioned much farther to the left. We have a country that we don't recognize. We are far more divided. She's trying to run on unity, the same thing they did with Biden, and it is not what happened. So I don't understand, in 2 months, they've just turned her into like this Saint Kamala, when all you have to do is look at her own words over the time that she's been in political hemispheres, and they don't jive with what she actually says and comes out of her own mouth. So, this is a really, and I'm seeing here in Erie County, New York, I would say it's 50-50. I think, we are overwhelmed by New York City, by downstate. New York is lost. We will never, Trump we won't have a Republican, but at least where I am, people are just tired of it.
Jenny, thank you. Stay with us. Thank you for all that. Stay with us.
Yeah.
We'll warn our affiliates we're going to run over today. I can tell you that now. Sean, reaction or questions for Jenny?
I mean, I hope and think a lot of people share that frustration with you. I think that's what I think you hear a lot from folks on the right, which is how do you get away with not having to answer for your policies? I mean, the uniqueness and the historic nature of this obviously have everything to do with it. But the idea that you can, through anonymous aid, say, I no longer believe in this, and no one follows up and says, I'm sorry, these are major issues. You need to account for it. She got asked on a local Pennsylvania station the other day, hey, President Trump says, the following, that for 4 years, you've been in charge. Why didn't you do anything? And she goes off, on a tangent again. I actually, I won't stay on my soapbox, but I do think that this is a huge dereliction of duty on behalf of our media that claims that they want, they have given her a pass, and they give Doug Emhoff a pass. They give Tim Walz a pass. And we're seeing the consequences of it, and you're feeling the consequences of it, and hope to God enough people share the sentiment that you expressed.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say on the judiciary, respectfully, and first off, awesome you came on. Like, I think it's great.
I'm nervous.
More people who are nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Come on, like it's the pool is very friendly here. Respectfully, I think Democrats feel similarly, but for opposite reasons about the judiciary, right? I mean, Roe would be the ultimate example of that. They feel like, they focused on other issues and never thought the court would overturn it. People have their own opinions about whether that's good or bad. And then just lastly, I will always think that it has been a huge mistake for Democrats to not engage more with Harris and Walz. I think Walz really showed his lack of engagement with the media and being rusty in that debate stage.
Jenny, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
What's the thing you most like about Kamala Harris?
Like about her? I don't think there's
admire.
one authentic thing about her, to be honest. I don't care about identity politics, whether it's a woman or a man, or those things don't matter to me. I just reveal who you are, show me who you are, show me what you think, and let me make my decision based on that. So what do I like about her? I find her 100% inauthentic in every single way. I think she's a persona. Now, I don't think she is I don't think she even knows what she believes in anymore. I think she's just flapping in the wind, quite honestly.
What do you think her chances of winning the election are?
Sadly, I think it's a toss-up right now, which is baffling to me.
Jenny, thank you.
Listen, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, finish up.
I mean, I don't listen. I think anybody can look at Trump and say, just please, just stop talking or stay on point or enough with the insults, but you at least can look to where we were 4 years ago, know where he stands, know where we were. I don't have to like everybody that I work with, right? But they can be still effective in what they do. So this isn't a popularity contest in terms like, I don't maybe want to be best friends with him, but I do think that he's able to do the things that she is not. And I think we have a record of that. She has a record that doesn't stand up to what she's saying. So I don't understand, like, why would you cast a vote simply because you dislike somebody so much when you know you were better off 4 years ago? Or maybe it just, none of it jives to me. But it's so frustrating. I don't get it.
Danny, thank you. I truly mean it. You were awesome, and we'd love for you to come back regularly. So please do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie, tell folks where you are who don't know where you are, who you're supporting, and what's on your mind.
I'm in Mount Vernon, Arkansas, and I'm supporting Trump.
Yeah. Tell us, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I was wondering, in case Trump doesn't win the election, what are the chances that Republicans take this House and the Senate? Because I think if they could do that, maybe they could kind of control what she does, maybe decrease the damage to the country. But I was just wondering what the chances are.
Yeah, all three of us will weigh in real quick, and we appreciate you coming on. Number one, I would say they'll almost certainly now take the Senate. Before I thought they might not, but now I think they almost certainly will. And they could take the House, even if Trump doesn't win. I'd say it's probably, if Harris wins, I'd say just rough, it's probably about a 35% chance they still take the House. Dan.
Yeah, I think it's possible they take both. And something I'm watching is if the Senate looks like it's gone and Harris is wobbly, does the House start publicly saying we're the firewall and go in with us to try to stop Trump from owning everything?
Done.
Yeah, real quick. I think the Senate, the question is, do you end up with 52, 53 right now? Republicans are going to take the majority in the Senate. I think they've got a decent chance of maintaining it right now. There's a lot in play, put it that way.
Debbie, where do you live in Arkansas, and how'd you find out about the morning meeting?
I live in Mount Vernon. It's about 20 miles north of Little Rock. And I listen to Megyn Kelly a lot, and I know you've been on there, so that's kind of where I picked you up at. Really enjoy it.
Debbie, thank you. Thank you. Who do you like more, Tom Cotton or your governor?
My governor.
Yeah, okay, good.
I like
we'll
Tom Cotton too, though. He's really good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all right. Debbie, thank you. Come back. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining. All right. Hey, Greg Long, raise your hand if you're voting for Harris. Yes? Greg? No, you're not. All right. We got to get a Harris voter in here. Oliver, you're voting for Harris. Yes? Raise your hand. Your physical hand. No. All right. If you've got your electronic hand up and you're voting for Harris, raise your hand.
Can't help it. Can't help it.
Where
See,
are
the
all
tide
Harris
is turning.
people? Where are my friends
There
on
we
here?
go.
Even Dan is willing to come over at some point soon.
Chris, welcome in.
Hey,
Tell folks.
what the hell's going on here? Where are the Harris supporters?
I don't know. We got a lot of Harris viewers. I don't
Mark,
know.
it's supposed to be two-way, and it's all Trumpy.
Well, not you, Greg. I mean, Chris. Hey, Chris. For those who don't know, tell them where you are, who you're supporting, and
I'm in Bosnia Herzegovina. I actually had a lot I wanted to say. I lowered my hand because I wanted more time some other day. But since we don't have enough Harris supporters, I support Harris. I live in Bosnia, and I vote in the swing state of New York, not far from Jenny.
Give us one question, Chris.
All right, let's do lightning round, and maybe you'll figure out what I'm getting at.
No,
All right,
just one question
from each of you. I need an answer from each of you and just a number.
Chris.
What is the percentage chance of Harris winning if prices go up to $5 per gallon between now and the election? I say about 15%. Mark, what say you?
I'd say 25%.
Sean?
15. I'm with you.
Dan.
I'd be 5%.
All right, Chris, that was a good one. Thank you, man. All right, let's go back to talk to one more person. Just seeing where the hands are up here. All right, Kevin Patrick, come on in. Love everything about the setting, including the headphones. Unmute, please. There you go. Kevin, tell folks where you are, who you're supporting, what's on your mind.
Charlotte, North Carolina, reluctant Trump supporter. You guys have me on Monday. Two super quick comments. One, Kamala Harris needs to double whatever she's paying her advisors and pay it to Dan. He nailed the response on Monday. She would not be in as much danger as she is if she had listened to him. And then two, the sentiment, because you would ask, hey, what's the sentiment out there? Sean nailed it this morning. The feedback we're getting from everyone in the West, like meaning even if they're going to struggle to vote, the sentiment in Charlotte, Raleigh, meaning bluer areas, is frustration for their friends who are suffering out there. So,
yeah. All right, Kevin, thank you, man. Appreciate it. How's the governor's race looking, Kevin?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you 2 seconds on that. It's obviously Stein's gonna win. The amazing thing is Robinson staying in his lane. No collateral damage to Trump. Both Stein and Robinson are actually doing great in the response. Like they're both like out there working. They're doing everything that Dan told the Harris campaign to do. But Mark Robinson has stayed in his lane, but he's too bombastic and everything that the die is cast there.
And how many times a day do you see Governor Cupper? That's how I pronounce it, Governor Cupper, on live TV. Is he very visible here?
Not really, not very visible. I'm a cord cutter, so I don't see the live TV as much. But he's well liked. He's always been a very steady, fine governor. So he's doing a fine job.
You know what cord cutter's favorite source of information is, Kevin? The morning meeting.
The internet.
The morning meeting. More specifically, the morning meeting. Kevin, thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck. All right, few things. Number one, I give you my word because I'm very familiar with our audience. We have a lot of Harris supporters amongst our audience. I don't know why they're not raising their hands as much these days, but we welcome you to do it. Chris should not be alone. But for those of you who think that we've been getting a lot of Trump people, it's true, but it's luck of the draw, number one. And number two, you're just not having Harris supporters raise your hand as much. While we've been on, the Team Trump put out their press release for tomorrow's rally in Butler. And they've been building this up for a long time. I can't read you the entire list of names of people who say they will be there in terms of like special guests. It's some people like Elon Musk and Eric Trump and Laura Trump and JD Vance and members of Congress, but it's also a lot of people who were heroes, rescue heroes on the day of the attack, and just an extraordinarily long list. And they've been Michael Watley. They've been building this event up. They plan to make it like one of the big events of the entire campaign. So, Sean, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, real quick. One thing last night that came out, it was funny. The Secretary of State's office in Pennsylvania, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, announced that they were suddenly going to be doing maintenance on voter registration on the day of Trump's rally in Butler. Scott Pressler and a lot of activists in Pennsylvania called it out and said, you got to be kidding me. The one time that you're going to do maintenance is when Trump's in Butler doing this thing. Kudos to the RNC.
Maintenance meaning you couldn't register tomorrow?
You couldn't register during the time that he just happened to be in the state. And so they have now found an alternative time to do maintenance on their voter registration site. But the RNC and Scott Pressler and a lot of activists in Pennsylvania got involved and called him out on it and said, you got to be kidding. This coincidentally just happens to be while President Trump is doing a rally and trying to register people in Butler. So I just wanted to call that out because that was a little bit of a dirty trick got caught.
Dan, any thoughts on Butler?
No, I mean, I think the more of these celebrities and others that show up, the more people will attend. And I'm sure that'll be good for the Trump campaign. Democrats, their own. Wait for the Bruce Springsteen concert in Philly again.
All right. Amy Prince, turn your camera on. Maybe we'll wait. There you go. All right. Amy's on a walk. Amy, are you a Trump supporter or a Harris supporter? Unmute. Unmute, please.
Yes, I'm a reluctant Harris supporter.
All right. We're going to extend a little bit because we got a reluctant Harris supporter on a walk. Amy, where do you live?
I live in Madison County, Illinois,
which
is in southern Illinois.
And what's on your mind today as a reluctant Harris supporter?
I was wondering, how often is Trump talking about this not taxing overtime? I haven't heard any ads about it, but there's a lot of talk about it. People are really talking about it.
It's in one of their new ads, and he does talk about it on the stump. But you think that's a popular thing?
Oh yeah. I have two sons who are in the union. My husband was a union member, And, people want to be rewarded for work. They don't want handouts. And
Amy,
the Democratic Party doesn't understand that.
Amy, did you vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016?
Yes,
No?
I voted
Yes, you did.
Democrat
Did you vote?
my whole life.
Okay. Then tell us why you're only a reluctant Harris supporter.
Israel. I think no one has nailed her down on it. And with what's going on over there right now, I'm just scared that she'll turn her back on Israel.
Amy, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for speaking up for Kamala Harris, even if reluctantly. Enjoy your walk. Alexander, you're going to have to do like the benediction, close us out.
Oh, hey, good morning.
You have pizza for breakfast, Alex?
No, I'm not having pizza. Actually, my girlfriend's actually making me a sandwich right now. And I'm very appreciative of that. She's trying to be quiet now because our kitchen's like right there. But I wanted to say to the Harris supporters, like, I said earlier that I'm voting for Trump right now. But what I would say is I'll give a nugget to the Harris team. And I said this to Dan last night when I ran into him getting pizza. Everyone dislikes Trump for the things that he says about people. Like, he insults people when he's in interviews, when he's in a heated discussion, he insults people. But ask yourself personally what it feels like for somebody to say something bad about you when they disagree with you, and then juxtapose that with what Harris does when she gets in even a friendly interview and somebody disagrees with her, she starts to lecture. And so when you lecture people, just think about in your personal life what it feels like to be lectured by somebody. And I was telling Dan last night, I'm the type of person, I'm very independent thinking and everything of the sort. You can say bad stuff about me. People said bad stuff about me after I came on here earlier this week. But you can't lecture me. Like, you can't do that. And so I would give that nugget to the Democratic team, to Harris's team, if they're listening. Like, and I'm saying that to Harris watchers here, because I know that there are a lot of Harris supporters. You should come on and speak your mind and say, and back your candidate. If you support your candidate, back them. Like, genuinely come and make your positions known. And so I would say, if that offers up anything to the Harris supporters here, that like even someone who is right now voting for Trump, I'm willing to provide advice to the Harris team, like, just so it's a better battle, it's a better fight. Like, so
Alex,
that's all I had to say this morning.
Okay, we're grateful to you for coming on. We're sorry if your previous appearance caused any trouble, but we're delighted.
Oh yeah,
to have you as part of this, and we hope you'll keep coming back. And the Upper West Side pizza is not as good as you can get if you go a little bit further downtown. That's my pro tip to you. I don't know what place you went, but it's not that good. Nothing on the Upper West Side's that good. Alex, thank you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the sandwich. All right, Dan, what do you have your eye on for the weekend besides Butler?
My New York sports teams, and just whether or not Harris, looking at these ads that she's releasing, it does appear that they are starting to make the argument about what she has done in the past, and they are leading less with a forward-looking economic message. And does that continue?
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I'm looking for. I'm talking to Watley, as I said this afternoon. I really want to hear about where he comes down on voter registration, early vote, the trends that they're seeing, and then particularly because he was the chairman of the North Carolina party, how does the political impact of this storm affect the race, both in terms of delivery, logistically of messages and that kind of stuff, but then who is most affected voter-wise? So I that's where I think, unfortunately that discussion has to happen. But I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. We want to thank everybody, including Jenny and Amy and Alex and everyone else who came in to speak. Monday, again, Harris folks, I know you're there. Please try to participate, follow Alex's advice, and raise your hand to be part of it. No plans for another episode tonight. If there's breaking news, I'll come back and do one. And we'll see about over the weekend as needed. We'll come and so watch Twitter, watch our YouTube channel, watch my Substack for notifications about special pop-up episodes that occur from now through Monday morning when at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Guess what? Season 2 Episode 6 premieres, world premiere, exclusive world premiere, Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate it. You'll get a chance to rewatch the episode on YouTube in moments, and we'll see you Monday. Thank you. Have a great day, great weekend.